On today's version of If You Know What This Card Is, You Get a Treat, Vile Aggregate. Good luck. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Anubis has asked me to run back you know what, we're not even going to call this one a run back. This is a very, very different Red Eldrazi list from what we played last time around. Normally, when you play a Red Eldrazi deck, this is the singular red card. Eldrazi Linebreaker is absolutely cracked. The amount of damage that it can produce in the early game is, quite frankly, insane. But Anubis has inserted, donated for. It's been a long day. It's 1:26 p.m. The show must go on. Anyway, Vile Aggregate is another red card that we're going to try in this shell. It's another devoid card, so it's technically colorless, and its power is equal to the number of colorless creatures you control. It is an X5 Trampler, where X is the number of creatures you control. Or I guess colorless creatures, but that's creatures. All ours are colorless. And it has some flavor text of ingest. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of their library. So let's talk about Magical Christmas Land, and let's talk about what I expect to happen with this card. In Magical Christmas Land, where everything goes right, you have a Glaring Fleshraker and or a Kozilek's Command. You power this thing out, and it is a 3-mana creature that is rocking, say, Reality Smasher stats. But I think what's going to happen in practice is that this card is not going to be particularly impressive in the opening hand. It's going to be impressive in, like, the mid to late game, which for this deck is probably like turn 4 or 5, where you already have an established board and you are looking for a finisher. It's fine there, but let's say you're playing against something like Beans, where your opponent is 1-for-1ing you forever. This is going to look pretty unimpressive there, when it's like, okay, I don't even need to use a removal spell on that right now. It is literally a 0-power creature if it is your only thing on board. So this is going to be a high floor, terribly low ceiling card, where, yes, sometimes this could literally attack for 10 or 20 points of damage if everything has gone perfectly, but in reality, I think I'm going to be pulling out my hair playing this card. But one of the things I really like to do on this channel is shut up and play the bad card. Like, let's test it, let's see if it's actually bad, and sometimes I've been wrong about my evaluations of cards. Anothering is now 1:28 p.m. Another interesting thing that we've got going on in this deck is that we're doing a throwback with Matter Reshaper. A couple of people in my Discord have hyped up this card, saying it's actually pretty respectable right now. It is just good value if you are getting into longer grindy games. I think I like the more generic Thought-Knot Seer here, but if this deck is trying to lower the curve and make it so that you can often play a dude into Eldrazi Linebreaker or vice versa and just keep the early aggression up, this requires you to only have 3 mana, which often works out well, given that many of the lands in this deck produce 2 mana. We're going to one-ring main deck here. That's going to be our second wave of stuff, just like you might be seeing out of a Moon Stompy deck. I have changed very few things from the original submission. I added in a couple more red sources. I think I added in 2 or 3 red sources into the mana base, whereas the previous Red Eldrazi deck just literally was playing 1 red creature. You were mathematically probably only going to see 1 in a game most of the time. Now you're pretty likely to find 2. And so I think we need just this much more red mana to make it work. And there were originally Tormod's Crypts in these spots, which I have changed to Leyline of the Void, because oops all spells. I believe there is also a strictly better Ratchet Bomb right now, and I absolutely don't remember the name of the card off the top of my head, and I think the difference was pretty small, so Ratchet Bomb it is. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into some matches here. Folks, should you need your Vile Aggregates or anything else for this deck, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Now, I know that Caleb just used promo code ThrabenU to save 10% on their order of some 4 and black border dual lands. So, you want to get some sweet cards and save some money? You should do the same. Thanks for supporting me and TOA, Caleb. Anyway, let's battle. Ooh. I think it's a keep. Are you ready, YouTube? Are you ready for me to will Wasteland into play? Because I am about to do it by keeping this hand. Here we go. So now the follow-up question is, against an unknown opponent, do I just play Chalice on 0 as well? I'll shut off some Lotus Petals that I have that aren't super important right now. I think I'm going to do it. Ready? Wasteland. Pass the turn. Oh, what the fuck? What is this? Draw 2 cards and discard a card at random unless you pay 2 energy counters. I don't know what we're doing over there. I'm excited by it, but I don't know what we're doing. Matter Reshaper? I think I'm Matter Reshaper. I'm just going to play the one that I can curve out with naturally. If I draw another land, I can double it that heralds the end next turn. I have literal no idea what's going on over there. Urza's Saga. Bizarro combo deck? I'm taking some damage here. Fortunately, we don't get to do 2 of these at the same time. I'll attack for 4 this turn, and then 8 next turn, then lethal the following turn. What is happening? I'm going to go into game 2 having 0 idea of what the fuck my opponent is doing, which is super unfortunate. And now I've drawn a Lotus Petal that's keeping me from casting the One Ring. I think that's a C'est la vie moment, where we just accept that. Send them. Opponent's going to take that. They are at 8. They can make a couple of medium-sized creatures here. My Matter Reshaper will be fine at handling. Specifically, they would have 2 3/3s, and I can kill both of those with just Matter Reshaper. Mox Opal is in play. Woohoo! Kozilek's Command. Don't mind if I do. Let's cast this. Let's exile a Duder, and I'll scry and draw. Yeah? This is counterable, and my opponent does counter it. Hull Breacher. Okay, so it's probably an artifact combo deck of some nature. Alright, so my It That Heralds the Ends can be traded with, or I can attack in with just Matter Reshaper. My opponent goes trade. They are at 2. They will be able to chump block this. Hull Breacher is a little annoying versus my One Ring that I have coming. This is very awkward. I am actually at a pretty low life total here from my own Ancient Tomb. I think I'm just going to make a damage push here, rather than try to make the most conservative attacks possible. Ooh, this actually kills 2 of mine, but I'm going to draw a card for it. Sure. Yes, I will put Eldrazi Temple onto the battlefield. I will hopefully just spiral the game with the One Ring from here. Thinking about that exact block, I think it was correct to just attack with Matter Reshaper. All I am looking to do is draw an Eldrazi Linebreaker and go kind of wild with that. It is Vile Aggregate instead, which is a 2-power trampler, which is not super good here. If I attack, this block is obligatory, probably. Let's see if my opponent is into a trade. They are not. I think I will now fog and hope over the course of a couple turns to just draw enough to do something super meaningful. Can't play this because of my own Chalice of the Void, although my Chalice of the Void is certainly doing something. Next turn, perhaps I can play Vile Aggregate and give it haste. I am so nervous here. My opponent has probably 2 4/4s. There is an LED. My opponent potentially could Echo this turn. There is a Narset. Very, very bad for me with the One Ring here. That is a Force of Will. That is probably exceptionally good for my opponent here. They just want to keep me from doing something broken this exact turn. That's not castable. Not realistically, anyway. So this is uncounterable for 1 mana, but it doesn't have haste or anything, and is very unimpressive as a Magic the Gathering card, even when buffed by 1. Now I think I'm just passing the turn. I can draw 1 card on my opponent's turn. Another Volk. Narset Digs. Finding a Day's Undoing, which is probably not great for me. Yup. I'm going to get to draw 1 card, and then my opponent is ending the turn. That's happening. So my 1 card is a land, not what I want. My next card is a land, not what I want. I am effectively dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't activate Ayavugan and search something up. Yeah, I'm going to lose this game despite locking my opponent out with Chalices. Just 2 Urza Sagas ate me alive. 3 Urza Sagas ate me alive. My opponent should be going on the offensive here. So I block. I go to 2. I am effectively at 1 life. And I know that my opponent has Force of Will. As long as they can put 1 body into play, I don't think I have live outs. Can't draw a card here or I die. Go to 1. Ozilek's Command. I need to leave myself with a red mana for haste, but my opponent is just going to Force of Will this. Just tap a bunch of mana for Force of Will, and I lose. The way that I avoid that is by making them think this is bait. Oh no, I can't fucking draw the card because of Narset. Damn it. Yep. My 2 ways of drawing cards both don't work. That is a disappointing loss. Okay, I want ley lines here, and I will probably do something that messes with Urza Saga tokens. Ratchet Bomb is awkward, specifically because it kills my Chalice of the Void. I'll Disruptor Flute it. We're going to do something that we're probably going to see in most of the rounds today. What is the secondary card that's not great? Honestly, it's probably the One Ring. My opponent just has too many things that are naturally good against that. So I am going to keep this hand. I think I'm doing a Chalice on 0 as my starting play. And we are going to throw an It That Heralds the End into play immediately. And then I am hoping to just do a pretty decent Kozilek's Command. Yeah, this is going to be fine. Bam and bam. Sacrifice. Kozilek's Command. Let's make spawns and draw a card. Done. Glaring Fleshraker. Glaring Fleshraker is pretty sick. Let's take that. So, make Glaring Fleshraker. Cast Matter Reshaper. Trigger Glaring Fleshraker. More other trigger on Glaring Fleshraker. More other trigger. And I think I save this for next turn where it's bigger. Send in for 2. It is turn 2. I have 3, 5, 6, 10 power on board. That's pretty sweet. There's a Saga, which is just going to be too slow here. City. I think we just do the immediately good city. This game is not about the long game anymore. There is a Hull Breacher. We're going to let that resolve. And then kill it. I would like to make spawns and exile that creature. That means I'm sacrificing this. Yeah. Trigger. Yeah. We ran our opponent over that time. Now, this game where I'm on the draw, I would really like to have Leyline of the Void. Note that the Graveyard Hate in the sideboard is 4 different sorts of decks. We have Graveyard Hate for unfair decks, which is Leyline of the Void, and Graveyard Hate for the fair decks, which is, when opponent is messing around with Murktide Regents and Uros and stuff like that. This is fine. So we start with Leyline of the Void in play, so Echo of Eons can't just get me early. Opponent can still play out stuff like that. Ooh. Multiple Disruptor Flutes. Sure. Eldrazi. I am just going to pass the turn here. I don't actually want to cast a Disruptor Flute unless my opponent puts something like a Narset on the stack that I need to respect. Yes. On this specific board, if these were Ratchet Bombs instead, that's a pretty sick 3-for-1. Matter Reshaper. Let's line break. There's a Force of Will, pitching an Echo of Eons. So Leyline did successfully stop a turn 1 combo attempt. There is a Hull Breacher. We'll see if my opponent can do something like a Daze Undoing here. I'm at 17. They cannot. Cavern is great. Do I want to try to stop Daze Undoing specifically? Or do I want to try to kill my opponent? I think I need to stop Daze Undoing. We'll just go ahead and cast this in upkeep here. That's Force pitching another Echo. That means I take 3 more damage. I am at 14. I don't really want to draw that Leyline. I think I do the same play in my opponent's upkeep. where we just Disruptor Flute again. I can just instantly stabilize the board by playing any number of creatures. So let's just stop one of the scariest possible things from happening. I'm at 11. Another land. Sure. Everybody's coming to party. This is a 1 mana Matter Reshaper. This is a 2 mana Eldrazi Linebreaker. I do need the different colors. And then I'm going to make Eldrazi Linebreaker rumble and leave back Matter Reshaper to potentially block Hull Breacher. 13. Note that Day's Undoing is pretty close to being live again. Am I 3 toughness here? I am 3 toughness here. Oh, that's just enough for my opponent to concede. We get there. And unfortunately, I can't see what my next couple of draws would look like. GG's. And as always, today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you need a place to store all of your decks, this is it. This is where I keep all of my decks for this channel. All 734 as of today's videos. If you haven't checked them out already, you should. And if you follow me on Moxfield, you can see all of my decks, sometimes even before they hit the channel themselves. Okay, we simply do not have enough mana here for this to be viable. Alright. Play or draw? Play. Alright, Chalice of the Void. I am into trying to steal a win here. I don't know how well we're going to play on 5. Note that there is a line where you go Lotus Petal, Unclaimed Territory, Chalice this turn. I think I like playing City into City. That way if I spike the One Ring specifically, I have that available to me as a line. And I don't necessarily even need to sacrifice City of Traders immediately. I might just play it at Herald's End and then pass the turn. Alright, we might be doing more of what we just saw last round in a slightly different way. I don't care if you get countered. I also don't think you are going to get countered. Chalice might be on the wrong number. Lotus Petal. Uh-huh. Yay. Yay. Let's look at my opponent's deck. Why blue? Is pretty typical stuff. I guess they are just giving themselves the ability to cast Archamoebas and sink into stupors and such. Notice here how my Chalice of the Void countering Cabal Therapy doesn't actually end up mattering. Wait, do I win? Is the Dread Return in your fucking hand right now? Sick. Memory's Journey is 2 mana. My opponent can Memory's Journey their way out of this still. Cool. And I can't really attack into all of these creatures. Love that too. Eldrazi. This just trades with like 2 zombies here. Not great. So we're chilling. So there's Memory's Journey. My opponent exiles their Jack-o'-lantern to get the mana. So they just had another blue land. So I get Thassa's Oracled anyway. Cool and fun. Leyline's in. Disruptor Flute's in. These are kind of mid. I think I'm going to play them anyway, because I am certainly not getting to 4 mana before I die, and this card is not relevant. It does get a little interesting past this point. I don't think I can remove Kozilek's Command from my deck. I think I have to be able to exile sideboard jukes. I am going to end up being incredibly threat light if I board out more threats. But I think I'm doing it. And I just assume that one of these cards ends up being enough to win the game if I just absolutely stomp on my opponent's combo side of the deck. All right, are you ready to lose to a sideboard juke? Because that's what's going to happen. We'll play out our stuff. Like, this is where I 3x cover my opponent's graveyard, and then a Goblin Charbelcher or a Goy for a Rotting Regisaur or whatever is going to beat me. But this deck is so fast that I can't really mulligan Leyline of the White Hands. Alright, not dead immediately. However, I do not have anything to cast. Next land, we're chilling. Thank you, deck. At this point, I'm going to hold that. I never need that mana. I'll hold that for Glaring Fleshraker now. Alright, now we are at the point where my opponent can just start casting things like Poxwalkers or whatever that can just attack for points of power and toughness. So, that's not great. Disruptor Flute, not a good draw here. At least not right now. Need dudes. I'm going to take 2 from this. Going to 18. My opponent has 5 power in play. I think I need to cast this preemptively so that if I draw something relevant, I can cast it. We'll shut off Belcher. Hey, that's not bad. Not immediately good either, but it is the start of something. So opponent's at 16. I can't block with this. Hopefully I just rip a Kozilek's Command or an Eldrazi Linebreaker and just go wild. I am willing to gain 3 life here. Just take 2 damage. Sure. I'm going to eat this from my own graveyard. There are timelines where I end up actually activating the 6 mana ability here. Yep. There's another land drop, just tapped though. I will take 5. I'm at 11. Cool. So despite the fact that I have very completely invalidated my opponent's primary plan and their secondary plan, this tertiary plan is still going to kill me, which required no specific thoughts or changes from my opponent. This play pattern is miserable. We're going to do this hedging for the future, where like next turn I draw a Kozilek's Command or something like that. I'm going to wait one more turn before taking my blocks. I think to win this game, I have to assume that I draw something good. All right, yep. So that's something good. I think that means I'm not dead yet. So I play that, make a spawn. I can't realistically kill my opponent here. I have to block 3 things, and then my opponent will still be left with 2 bodies. Hate that. And I have to let Undercity Informer through, because that's the only 2 power one. So block, trade, block, take 2. There's still 2 bodies left here, which I think means that I'm dead. Ah, there's more. Cool. There are very few things that make me want to stop playing Magic the Gathering altogether, but this deck is one of them. This is infuriating to play against, and probably should have gone with the previous ban waves, but instead we get to deal with this until, I think, the end of June! Alright. Opening hand is fine. There will be a little bit of question as to like what my exact sequencing is going to be and how I'm going to use the Lotus Petal. Malevolent Rumble lands. You've got it. Opponent gets back an Exploration. Eldrazi Temple is pretty big game here. I think that means that we're just going full send it. So we just make the red and crash in as quickly as possible. There are potentially things like Maze of Ith and Tabernacle coming later on that could really slow down my aggressive abilities. So I want to get in here either before my opponent kills me with a 20/20 or before they stabilize. I know Exploration is coming. Is it Loam? It is Loam. Tabernacle, that's a disaster. That was one of the specific cards that I called out as being a problem. How about we spike another Soul Land? Thank you. That's very good. So now I will do it that heralds the end, and I can give it haste and deal a bunch of damage. And then I can use City to play for both of these, and then be attacking with 3 creatures next turn. Trigger, send 8 in. Opponent is at 8, facing down lethal, but this is still incredibly scary. So for example, a Wasteland here means that I lose one of these creatures. Ooh, that is a Dredge with no lands in graveyard. I'll take that. And there's the concession. Ooh, I'm very happy to win game 1 there. So Chalice of the Void is not particularly strong here, especially on the draw. I think I'm going to turn those into some degree of hate for Life from the Loam specifically. I probably don't want to go crazy on that. And then we can think about Disruptor Flute for their combo portion. And nobody look at what just happened. This is a medium opening hand that I think I will keep. I don't think I get to turn down turn 1 creature, turn 2 creature, turn 3 lock piece. Ooh, wow, they're going ham. This can Life from the Loam even this turn. Glad it didn't. Not that this turn. I think we're still into this. My aggressive stuff is going to get shut down slightly. That's stage and field. So I can die at like any time. I think we're going to go bam, cast Disruptor Flute, and hope we don't die in response. We didn't. I'm going to shut off Maze of Ith, and we are going to try to aggro down this game before my opponent gets to Field of the Dead mana. I think Field of the Dead levels of mana will beat me. So we are just going to stop the activated ability of Maze of Ith and hope I don't die to Crop Rotation. Oh, it's an Endurance. Rough. That brick walls both of these. No bueno for me. Interesting. Opponent is going on the offensive. I don't know whether or not that is explicitly wrong, but it feels weird. I want a full 6 mana this turn. So bam, 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 bam. Always yield to both of these triggers. Yeah. Trigger. I'm sending this directly into another Endurance. Okay, cool. It did not happen. So now pretty much instantly I have switched back to the aggressor. Yeah, so Endurance is forced to be held back. My opponent does not have Life from the Loam currently. I probably just cycle this, honestly. This is worth a Glaring Fleshraker trigger. I will exile that. I will crack this. I will cast an It that heralds the end. Is worth some damage. This is now a 4/4. We're going to go to Punchies. Full send? It's always this. I think it's full send. All right, we are blocking the It that heralds the end to stop the Lord. My opponent is at 2. I will keep City of Traders in play and pass the turn. Now, my opponent can swing this back with a Dark Depths, right? Which they have. Although they're tapping stage. Do you have the Prevent All Damage land? Glacial Chasm. Tabernacle. I get to keep 5 threats here, yeah. GG's. So I knew what this game was about, which was not letting my opponent get to this or not giving them time to find this, which is why I played this super, super aggressively. It was very, very easy for me to lose this one. We got a little lucky here that my opponent's top decks weren't great. Okay, my opening hand is fine here. There's some things that are slightly weird about it. In that, like, if we try to play Chalice of the Void on 1, we end up with a disappearing land. If I play Cavern of Souls out and it gets wastelanded, it's incredibly awkward. It is Enchantress. Chalice of the Void on 1 is exceptional here. And now that I have another land, I am probably just okay giving that up to not let my opponent cantrip indefinitely with their stuff. I think there is a real degree of immediacy here. And next turn, I can play Eye of Ugin, Glaring Fleshraker, and potentially go kind of wild. There is an Enchantress. Okay, so just saying something more accurately. Chalice of the Void is countering the 1-drops. The Enchantress effects are still going to allow draws, but my opponent's stuff is not resolving, at least not right now. Hopefully, I don't have to explain that later. Lose our land. Glaring Fleshraker into Matter Reshaper. Is going to do both Glaring Fleshraker triggers. Yeah. And now that we have made an Eldrazi spawn, we can go ahead and play Matter Reshaper as a follow-up. This is great. I can technically do a Kozilek's command for X equals 1. I think it is likely going to be better to just go to my... Damn it. Go to my own turn to cast this. I definitely am going to need to counter that. Oh, do you have 1 land? Oh, that's so good for me. That is so incredibly good for me. Ooh, that is also so incredibly good for me. Okay. Cavern on Eldrazi. You win me the game next turn. Exile a creature. Make spawns. Make spawns. Target creature. Yeah. Triggers. Destiny Spinner is a sweet Magic the Gathering card. 14. exile, 12. And now, unfortunately, we don't have colorless mana to slam this. That's fine. It is just lethal next turn. And Ayabugan does not produce mana for the One Ring. We are potentially not even just showing my opponent the red mana here. A lot of their removal is going to be a single white mana. We've gotten the GG. Ratchet Bomb is very good here. Disruptor Flute has text. Until I know more about my opponent's exact build, it's a little hard to hit the win condition properly. As such, we probably just board like that. Destiny Spinner is a fine name with it. Green Sun is a fine name. But then, like, is my opponent on a Helm of Obedience kill? Is my opponent on a Serra Sanctum Emrakul kill? There's a bunch of potential win conditions, and Enchantress sees so little play that I don't think I am comfortable enough making the called shot with Disruptor Flute. Okay, this hand is pretty darn good. We start with a Chalice of the Void on turn 1. We go into Glaring Fleshraker on turn 2, Vile Aggregate on turn 3. Love that for me. Chalice of the Void is having a good showing today. The card has lost a lot in Legacy in the past few years, but it can still rumble sometimes. Blue? That is awfully rude of you. I think I'm going to be able to put a Eldrazi Fleshraker into play and not super care about this. Anubis originally submitted a deck list with 3 basic lands in it, but I took them out. I did not think we could afford them in trying to make this castable while still having colorless regularly for our stuff. An Enchantress. When search your library for an enchantment card, put it on top. Okay, got it. My opponent can presumably get something that answers Chalice of the Void. Springheart Nantuko. Cool. Alright. I think my opponent ends up bestowing onto this in a very annoying way for me. I think I would overpower this easily without back to basics, but this is what sideboard cards are for. There's the bestow. This is just a 4/3 now. In addition to all of the disgusting things that it is going to do with stuff like fetch lands. Okay. Now are we copying? Yeah. I can't even be mad about this. This is sweet. Destiny Spinner to force through Chalice. Seems good. I'm not going to concede because my deck is capable of some bullshit, but this is not great. I will just make a land drop and pass. I think I need another Kozilek's Command. Maybe it's more mana. Kozilek's Command into Kozilek's Command could just be a machine gun that ends up killing my opponent. It is rough. Unable to scream. Can't be countered. My Glaring Fleshraker becomes a toy, is it? Toy artifact creature. I'm gonna tap out here after my opponent tutors. I think after not being able to assemble 2 Glaring Fleshrakers that I just don't win. And then just getting more card advantage. That's fine. I don't think anything is changing about my sideboarding here. With 1 more mana source, this hand is great, because I could Glaring Fleshraker into Eldrazi Linebreaker, and that pretty much wins the game on its own. But without that, I don't think I am willing to keep this. I don't think it is stable enough. Unfortunately, this hand also just does not have workable mana. And in fact, the mana is worse. This is a 5 now. On 5, I will keep this. I get Eldrazi Temple into Unclaimed Territory into these 2 creatures, or I can keep this in a way where I play Ratchet Bomb on turn 1 and just take more damage, which I think I'm into. I think being able to junk opposing acceleration enchantments or opposing annoying 2-drops is worth this. Land drop from my opponent and just passing the turn. I will 100% just tick this up here and be happy doing so. Ooh, I'm in. This is on Eldrazi. My Eldrazi Linebreaker is my most important card here. I'm not going to play it first in case my opponent has a 1 mana removal spell of some kind for it. I'm going to play Glaring Fleshraker into Eldrazi Linebreaker. End of turn, just pure fetch to thin. Second land drop, Destiny Spinner. For tempo reasons, I Might just get rid of that with Ratchet Bomb and not extract maximum Ratchet Bomb value. I think I am into that, just so I can attack with the Flush Raker this turn. Inefficient, colorless removal, but removal is removal. Let's always yield to these. Yeah. Trigger. Punchies. Haste. This is 8 damage by itself. And if my opponent has a single removal spell for one of these two, the other is still good, especially with it that heralds the end backing them up. That is a blocker. My opponent tapped their lands wrong? Unable to scream. Sure. They are going to power down Eldrazi Linebreaker. Ooh. I just do both? I will just do both. So it that heralds the end. Rose these, including this. I will go to combat. Now my Eldrazi Linebreaker attacks for 1. Opponent just takes it. So this Chalice of the Void will then finish them off with a Glaring Flushraker trigger. Got him. GG's. What are we at now? Oh, we got 3 wins on the board. That's fantastic. Good thing we've only played 3 rounds of Magic. So they're all wins. I believe that I am willing to keep this hand, assuming that I draw another relevant card over about the first 3 draw steps. This looks to be pretty powerful. We'll see if the Surveil gives us any information. It does not. I wonder if it's correct to not play anything and just play Ayavugan and pass. If I do that, on turn 2, I play Eldrazi Temple. Glaring Flushraker is played around Daze. I play Lotus Petal. It that heralds the end is played around Daze. I miss out on 2 initial damage from a Glaring Flushraker attack, but I at least guaranteed get one of them back from a Lotus Petal. I'm in. So, are you tempo or are you combo? Still ambiguous. We figured it out. So now we don't want to see Force of Will, but we're, I suppose, okay seeing Daze. Oh, I guess the floating mana is Eldrazi Temple floating mana. Or what that's worth. Maybe I have to give up the Lotus Petal trigger to play around Daze then. This is actually inconvenient now, because I have to use colorless mana to cast this. Ah! Same is true here. Alright. I'm going to cast this. Then do the line that I previously talked about. So there's Glaring Flushraker. There's it that heralds the end. We get Glaring Flushraker triggers, bringing my opponent to 18, and then 17. But now I'm fully reliant on the top of the deck, and the Lightning Bolt, Chain Lightning style cards that can pick off my creatures do a lot of work here. Yeah. Unholy Heat as well. That's real bad for me. I'm miraculously still only getting attacked for 1, despite the fact that my opponent has 7 cards in their graveyard. City? I think I'm into City. And I hold Lotus Petal here since it is colored mana. I've got Daze covered. I don't have Force covered. Damn it. Opponent bins a Daze with that trigger, so they've just rationalized that they are not going to be able to daze the big things that I am playing. They are still 1/1s. Alright. Ah. Hello. Vile Aggregate. Eldrazi. So, I now, on turn 4, have a 1/5 Trampler. You made it into play, bud. I'm proud of you. I don't think you get to block the flyers, though, so pride has gone away. This is a 3-turn clock. Potentially less if I end up needing to tap Ancient Tomb to play something like a One Ring. I will take 6. This is bad. My opponent takes a redraw. This is too late to matter. Like, it doesn't matter if I cast a Chalice on 1 and stop all of my opponent's spells if my opponent does not need to cast any more spells. Hurrah! Hurrah! Got a card from your library. Well, I kept them from drawing a card that would have been countered by Chalice of the Void. We are going to have to put you on a performance review plan. I am sorry, Vile Aggregate. I am dead in the air. I can cast this card, but that's just that. Dead. So I think I am into these fair ways to fight against the graveyard, not the unfair Leyline of the Voids. And I can consider Ratchet Bombs. I think if my approach to this matchup is going to involve keeping my opponent's graveyard in check, I'm not trying to get the freebies with Chalice of the Void. Let's do that. How do I feel about these removal spells? How do I feel about Chalice of the Void? The One Ring is very slow here and is incredibly dazable. I'm cutting some number of these 7 cards. I don't know. I don't play enough of this deck to know my matchup approach here. I'm going to keep more viable early game plays. I don't think I get to keep the 1-lander versus Delver. Yeah, this is fine. I'm going to play Eldrazi Linebreaker on turn 1 off Eldrazi Temple and Lotus Petal. If I put this One Ring on bottom, I just like never get another. Ancient Tomb is not great in this matchup, but City and Eldrazi Temple don't cast the One Ring. There's some overall awkwardness there. Going to get rid of Ancient Tomb. Ancient Tomb is just so bad if my opponent starts the game with counter spell into dude. So my game plan is smack my opponent as many times as possible with this. Preferably, it's land, creature, and my Kozilek's command resolves. That is the ideal timeline here. And I think I do this in a way where it plays around days. Spawn? I think spawn. Spawn, exile creature, 2, and 1. I'm not maximizing my damage, but I think I just need to play around the days here. Cool. Go to punchies, get slightly bigger, and send it. I could have pushed 1 more damage here, but I think playing into days immediately is just a mistake. We're going to be at 10 after this fetch. There's a lightning bolt. Slows me down a lot. There's a Delver. 2 mana. Goodbye. 4 mana. 1 ring. Nice. This is big. Draw a card. This awkwardness is here. I think I'm into the vacuum. And we are fine. Immediately vacuuming bolts. This is very, very good for me. Delver does not blind flip. Also a boon. I will take 1. Oh, wait. Haha. Or a steel cutter in play. My opponent can make some blockers / some potentially rather aggressive cards. Tokens. So this One Ring is here forever. Just throwing that out here. 2, 3, 4, 5-ish mana. Fine getting rid of the land? The land's pretty good. I think I'm fine getting rid of it, though. Name Eldrazi. I'm going to start with the Ghost Vacuum. Going to follow that up with the Chalice on 1. I am okay if a Matter Reshaper gets dazed here. It does not. So we're going to go ahead and eat that and pass the turn. My opponent is at 10. Delver does not flip again. Stringing together cantrips for Corey Steelcutter is now not doing as much. Another Corey Steelcutter. Now my opponent can just yeet things into Chalice of the Void. Let's just always yield to a whole bunch of triggers here. This is a pretty impressive amount of damage, especially considering that my opponent's spells this turn were countered. I believe that I need to just block. See what Matter Reshaper flips. Yeah, I'll put an Ancient Tomb onto the battlefield. Then we will vacuum. I'm going to vacuum some stuff from my graveyard, just in case I need to activate one of these. 13. Ooh, opponent's at 10. Those are not what I'm looking for. Let's go Glaring Fleshraker. I think I just immediately make a spawn. Casting this for X equals 0. Every point of life is relevant here. I will use this Ghost Vacuum to keep your graveyard size in check. Then I will eat a Matter Reshaper out of my graveyard with the other Ghost Vacuum, and then probably put Eldrazi Linebreaker and Matter Reshaper into play. ERC, lots of triggers. How much is this? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I am effectively at 10 life. I am blocking at least one thing here. So if I block 1, 2, 2 with the spawn, I take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11, 12, but then can't tap Ancient Tomb. That's awkward. My opponent could also have an instant as their last card. If my opponent has an instant and I block 2 of these, I take 3, 6, 9, and 11, 12. Still can't tap Ancient Tomb. Always that. I think I'm going to try this. I think I'm going to try this. 4. In case it matters, vacuum out one of my own creatures here. And now we see. I'm at 1. Draw cards. Without doing the math on it, this seems good. Eldrazi. I have 1, 2, 3 real mana, which means activating this is not live. That means that I am going down this rabbit hole. I cast Glaring Fleshraker. My opponent is at 7. Then I cast it. That heralds the end. This is going to do multiple sets of triggers here. My opponent is at 3. Then 1. Then I cast a Chalice of the Void, which will be countered by Chalice of the Void to get more spawns. My opponent in chat says, first time playing with the new cards. It sucks I missed the 2 damage. The 2 damage here. Very, very relevant. Ooh. So the One Ring was great there. But barely. Is my approach of Relic and Ghost Vacuum still valid in a Quarry Steelcutter world, or do I just need to have 1 rings to wall that prowess and be worse versus Daze? The Ghost Vacuum Relic stuff is still totally fine and good versus DRC and any Murktide Regents and things of that nature. I don't know. I might need the 1 ring for the mid game. It's just so bad versus Daze. Maybe I need it. Maybe we don't Ghost Vacuum. We do Relic. We trim 1 Chalice or 1 Matter Reshaper on the draw. Maybe by the time I get to the 1 ring, my opponent's out of counterspells. Love this. Absolutely love this. So this is turn 1 Deuter, counterable, but maybe not worth countering. And then uncounterable Eldrazi Linebreaker into uncounterable Eldrazi Linebreaker. This is excellent. Woo! The dream. Hit that heralds the end. Let's go. Nice. Now, this fully might just eat a lightning bolt, or my Eldrazi Linebreaker on my turn might fully eat a lightning bolt, but this bodes well. Ponder. Wasteland is exceptional. Slowing me down is a really big deal here. I always, always, always need this red mana. I don't think I can play this out and get this wastelanded. I think I need to play Ancient Tomb this turn. Send in for 2. I would prefer to play City of Traders as my 3rd land drop in play so that I keep my stuff. Fuck. That's so good. That's going to keep me from Kozilek's commanding away that creature in the short term. Now I do this. This is on Eldrazi. I go to Punchies. I Punchies you. 16. We'll see how much damage I take on the crackback, though. Brainstorm. So this is now a 3-3. My opponent can fetch and clear the Brainstorm. And I am hoping not to just immediately see a lightning bolt for my Linebreaker that I'm going to play. Bulk. Bobble. Graveyard's getting big. Unholy Heat. I don't know that that is correct to do. Maybe my opponent has a specific line they're playing for, though. Like, maybe they need a blue card to pair with a Force of Will to protect this, or something like that. So, what am I doing? I have so much damage. I think I am the beatdown. I don't know that I love casting Kozilek's command immediately, because it is counterable, whereas the rest of the stuff that I'm doing just leans into the Cavern of Souls that I have in play already. And I probably overpower a Murktide Regent? Blooded Strand. Take 3, this is fine. 14. Opponent passes the turn. Multiple Kozilek's command now. Let's hope there's counterspells over there, and not removal spells. One of these goes on Eldrazi Linebreaker 1, one of these goes on Eldrazi Linebreaker 2. This is the moment for a removal spell. It is a petty theft, sure. That is not a long-term answer here. And then a lightning bolt. That's not bad. These triggers are not doing anything. This was the double removal spell. This is not what we wanted to see. So now I'm going to take more chip damage from this. Preordain. What did that do? Because that matters. Bottom, bottom. Love to see that. Love to see lands. I will take 3. I guess the land means that my opponent can Brazen Borrower. This is fine. I could Kozilek's Command this turn. Yeah, I could Kozilek's Command this turn. Bam. Bam. I'll do a Kozilek's Command, X equals 2. Pawns. And exile target creature. Yeah, yeah. Play around Spell Pierce or take maximum value. I think I'm taking maximum value. Fantastic. Now I will still get to Eldrazi Linebreaker uncounterably. And this is theoretical lethal next turn. Get big. Send in for 4. And then next turn I give one of these 2 creatures haste. Here's the fetch. Basic. And the Brazen Borrower. So there is some question what is actually in my opponent's hand. Could be like Corey Steelcutter that they weren't ready to play multiple spells with. Could be a Daze that I've naturally played around. I guess if you have Daze, you Daze that turn, right? Because it taps my Cavern of Souls, so I don't play Eldrazi Linebreaker immediately. Lightning Bolt is great. I'll take 3. Eldrazi Temple is not actually bad. Do I play around Bolt Bolt plus attack killing me? I don't think I do. I think I go 2 mana, get that Heralds the End. This is technically Force of Willable. That is Force of Will pitching the Daze that we naturally played around. Now, I will Matter Reshaper. Next turn, I attack my opponent down to 1, and I will also Kozilek's Command away Brazen Borrower to stabilize the board, which sounds great. That is a Corey Steelcutter. My opponent can equip. Get an extra point of damage in this turn. It's quite relevant. This is going to be tight. I could lose to my opponent top decking a good cantrip. I need 5 total mana to get rid of this thing, which I have. Am I drawing a card? I think I am drawing a card. Hold on. Is it worth it to play the Cavern of Souls? I'm going to draw exactly 1 card. I don't have many exactly 1 mana cards. I'm going to look 1 card deeper. Try X, draw a card, exile target creature. Yeah, yeah. 2, 4, 5, and 6. Don't need to play around Daze. Opponent is Hellbent. No. 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 You're weird. You're just fog. I don't know if that's actually good enough here. I have more things that just kill my opponent immediately next turn, I think. There's a 1 mana card. I'm going to swing in. I could play more conservatively and hold back, but the creature does get trample and haste. So sometimes my opponent just plays a flyer, gives it haste, and it doesn't matter that I held this back. That is a hasty Murktide Regent to get the kill. And exactly the right amount of mana. Corey Steelcutter strikes again. GG's. We still end up with a positive record in the league, though, so I'm overall happy with that. Alrighty. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Well, there's an obvious problem, right? I don't think you get to play cards in Legacy that have a floor as low as this one. The floor of this card is a 3 mana, hard to cast, 1/5 Trampler. And I think it is very, very easy to get caught up in, well, what if you have Kozilek's Command? Well, take a look at that last game. For a good portion of the game, Kozilek's Command rotted in my hand, right? Where I even had trouble just casting it. I think I cast it for an X equals 1 or X equals 2 to get rid of a DRC. I did do an X equals 5 at the end of the game, but I don't want this card in my deck. I think we technically connected with it a couple of times, but every other card in this deck is more respectable on its own than Vile Aggregate. The red mana is passable in this deck, but I would rather not have more red cards in it. It that Heralds the End is sometimes weak, but it powers up every other card. Matter Reshaper is sometimes weak, but sometimes it turns into a better card. Whereas Vile Aggregate, I think, is just worse than Thought-Knot Seer or Reality Smasher. I would rather just take the thing that has consistent stats here rather than the thing that has highly variable stats. The sideboard cards were reasonable here. There was some uncertainty about how I should be sideboarding in certain matchups, like Chalice with these 1-drops is weird, Leyline with these is weird. But generally speaking, this was a fine deck, and despite the cute things that we were trying to play, we still put up a positive record, so hey, we'll take that. Folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and if you need some cards, you know where to go. I've got a trivia night that I'm off to, so see ya.